The green fire hurtled toward us. Kaelen did not flinch. He thrust his hand forward and a wall of compressed air slammed into the fireball, detonating it in midair. The heat washed over us, but Kaelen's barrier held. "Can you move?" he shouted over the roar of the flames. "My legs, they're too heavy," I cried, trying to slide off the altar. The transmutation had not finished reaching my feet. They were still solid marble, fused to the floor. "Damn it," Kaelen cursed. He unleashed a whip of lightning that caught the lead mage in the chest, sending him flying back into the corridor. But the other two were advancing, chanting a unison spell that made the very foundations of the tower shake. I watched Kaelen fight. He was a conductor of violence, his movements precise and brutal. But he was one against 3 high-level mages, and he was exhausted from the ritual. He took a hit, a shard of ice to the shoulder, and stumbled. "Kaelen," I screamed. The sight of his blood, fresh, red blood, triggered something in me. That familiar swelling sensation, the pressure, the rage. It filled my new lungs, hotter and more potent than it had ever been inside the balloon. I was not just a soul anymore. I was a soul inhabiting a body made of conductive silver clay and aeromancy. I did not need helium. I needed to scream. I drew in a breath that seemed to suck the oxygen out of the room. I focused on the intruders, on the threat to the man who had pulled me from the void. I let it out. It was not a normal scream. It was a sonic boom. A shockwave of pure white sound erupted from my lips. It shattered the remaining marble on my legs, freeing me. It blasted past Kaelen, ruffling his robes, and hit the 2 mages with the force of a freight train. Their shields shattered. They were thrown backward, their bodies limp ragdolls, crashing into the stone walls with bone-breaking force. Silence fell, heavy and ringing. Kaelen stood amidst the debris, chest heaving, clutching his bleeding shoulder. He turned slowly to look at me. I stood on the altar, the last of the marble flaking off my skin like dead scales. I was fully flesh now, glowing softly in the starlight, my chest rising and falling with adrenaline. "You," Kaelen stared, his eyes wide, pupils blown. "You wield the voice of the gale. That is a lost magic." I stepped down from the altar. My legs wobbled, unused to walking, and I stumbled forward. Kaelen caught me, his good arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me flush against him. The contact was electric. His robes were rough against my sensitive new skin, his body hard and radiating heat. "You saved me," he whispered into my hair. "You saved me first," I replied, looking up into his storm-gray eyes. The danger had passed, but the adrenaline remained, morphing into a different kind of hunger. We were both breathing hard, alive on the edge of death. He looked down at me, his gaze dropping to my lips, then to the curve of my neck and lower. He made no move to cover me. "The clay," he murmured, his voice rough. "It needs heat to set the transmutation permanently, body heat." I knew it was a half-truth. The magic had done its work, but neither of us cared about the technicalities of spellwork right now. "Then warm me," I challenged, my hands coming up to grip the lapels of his robe. Kaelen groaned, a low sound in his throat that vibrated against my chest. He lowered his head, his lips crashing onto mine. It was not a tentative first kiss. It was a collision. It was possessive and starving. He tasted of copper and ozone. His hand tangled in my hair, tilting my head back to deepen the kiss, while his other arm held me tight against him, as if afraid I would float away again. I was not floating. I was grounded. I was heavy with desire and life. He broke the kiss, gasping, his forehead resting against mine. "The council will return. We have to leave the spire." "I know," I whispered, running my thumb over the scar on his cheek. "But not tonight," he growled, sweeping me up into his arms, bridal style. "Tonight I finish what I started. I need to know that you are real, every inch of you." He carried me out of the ruined ritual chamber, stepping over the unconscious bodies of our enemies, heading toward the winding stairs that led to his private quarters. I had died in a collision of metal and rain. I had floated in a red haze. But as Kaelen carried me into the darkness, his heart beating thunder against my own, I knew my life, my real life, was just beginning.